Hello and welcome to News Round, where you get a recap of stories that made headlines during the week. Coming up, over 20 still missing as NEMA concludes search and rescue operations from boat accident in Sokoto State. And the Anambra State government dismisses 8 operatives of the Agune Chamber security outfit over assault of female corps member. Management of NYSC and NOA react. And suspects of the Owo Church massacre go on trial as court grants DSS request to shield identity of witnesses. Plus, UN-backed body Integrated Food Security Phase Classification IPC confirms famine in Gaza City for the first time. A news round begins with the Sokoto's boat mishap, a joint search and rescue operations by officials of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and the National Inland Waterways Authority at Kajio village in Groyo resulted in the rescue of 25 persons, where over 50 were involved in the boat mishap. The head of NEMA, Sokoto Operations Office, says over 25 persons are still missing, as he frowns at the attitude of members of the riverine communities who disregard safety measures.
Members of Kajio community are thrown into mourning following a boat mishap involving over 50 persons, including traders and market women heading to Goronyo Weekly Market. Following the incident, officials of the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and the Nigerian Inland Waterways Authority commenced rescue operations. It is 24 hours since the rescue operation started, with no fewer than 25 people still missing, while 25 persons have been rescued alive. Officials blame non-adherence to safety measures, overloading, and other misconduct for the incessant boat mishaps.
Enforcement of transportation court is the only solution. Don't do this. If you do it, you will be finalized. We take you to the nearest police station. Then we have a transportation court being gazetted by the federal government. The Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy are trying with all other agencies to make sure that this transportation court is being enforced throughout the country.
It was overloaded with over 50 passengers. And then when it capsized, 25 were rescued with 7 motorcycles, and all the pump products were salvaged. But up to this moment, as I'm speaking with you, we haven't retrieved anybody. So as far as Argungu, to be were alerted so that if they see any floating body, they should help us retrieve and then inform the proper authority.
Families of victims plead with authorities to improve water transportation system in the riverine communities. Although the state government has donated 100 bags of grains and 20 million naira to support affected members of the community, the ongoing bridge construction in the area will soon be completed. In addition, the government has provided life jackets and motorized boats, which will be distributed across 6 local government areas: Gorenyo, Sabon Birni, Isa, Wamako, Kware, and Shagari.
And in Anambra State, 8 security operatives involved in the assault, brutalization, and dehumanization of female corps member, Ms. Jennifer Lobo, are now in police custody. The special advisor on community security to the Anambra State government, Ken Emekaye, who made the announcement in Oka, also announced the dismissal of the suspects as they were paraded and handed over to the police for investigation and prosecution.
I've been on this matter for about over 2 to 3 weeks now with them, and I've been seeing the subtle threats, even from NYSC. I'm sorry to say, but I always have to bring it to the fore. All of those things they're saying, that's not true. That's not true at all. They are not prepared to prosecute. They are not going to prosecute. They are not even just scared of coming to Anambra. They are scared even for their service. For some reason, shouldn't be extended, reprisal attacks, and all of those things. They are really, really scared. We've written petitions to the Anambra state government. The petitions are everywhere. We send down to the Attorney General of the Federation, to Human Rights Commission. We sent everywhere. And we're demanding that this person be prosecuted and this person's, of course, compensatory damages. We gave a timeline, it's allowed by the law. And after that, we'll take all the necessary steps.
Meanwhile, the management of the National Youth Service Corps has condemned the assault on Ms. Alabo. A statement by the Acting Director, Information and Public Relations of the Corps, Caroline Embu, says the management strongly condemns the unacceptable and dehumanizing manner in which the operatives conducted their operations, irrespective of the initial justification for the purported investigation they set out to carry at the facility where the Corps members were accommodated. In its own reaction, the National Orientation Agency described the incident as regrettable and unacceptable. And to an update on the Owo massacre, which occurred on June the 5th, 2022. Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court in Abuja granted the application of the Department of State Service as a DSS to protect the identity of the witnesses giving evidence in the trial of the 5 persons charged for the attack at St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church, Owo, Ondo State. More than 40 worshippers died in the attack. At the commencement of the trial in Abuja, the DSS, in a counter affidavit to the defendant's bail application, raised concerns about the defendant's capacity to interfere with prosecution witnesses if granted bail, given their alleged antecedents and a propensity for violence.
5 defendants, arraigned on the 11th of August 2025 on a 9-count terrorism charge, walk into the courtroom for the commencement of trial, having pleaded not guilty to the charges. With the announcement of appearances, the prosecutor seeks the permission of the court for a short adjournment to enable Ayodeji Adedipe, a senior advocate of Nigeria, to take over the case. He equally applied for the shielding of witnesses in order to protect their identity. The defense counsel, on his part, moved a bail application on behalf of the defendants, which was opposed by the prosecutor. In opposing the bail application, the DSS stated that the offenses for which the defendants are standing trial are very serious, attracting capital punishment if convicted. It added that the defendants are standing trial for acts of terrorism, which led to the death of about 40 persons and caused grievous injury to over 100 worshippers at St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church, Owo, Ondo State, on the 5th of June 2022. The DSS disclosed that it is currently investigating leads with a view to apprehending individuals planning to intimidate witnesses and compromise the trial in the interest of the applicants. In a brief ruling, Justice Nwite granted the application of the DSS to protect the identity of the witnesses and adjourns ruling on the bail application to the 10th of September 2025. Outside the court, the prosecutor clears the air on the trial of the suspects.
There's been a misconception that we charge them to court because of a fundamental rights suit. And I'm here to categorically state that that information is false. There is no such fundamental rights suit anywhere. What the DSS has done was to do an intensive investigation. You don't charge people to court without sufficient evidence to sustain those charges. The DG of the DSS, who is a man that values and respects the rule of law, the man has said to the team, make sure that this investigation is being carried out judiciously. Make sure that all the stones are unturned to find out if these people are actually the ones that committed this offense. And for us to have come to court is because we believe we have sufficient evidence to sustain these charges.
He also speaks on the reason for opposing the bail application.
We know the nature of this matter is a very serious case. So when we have witnesses in such cases, the protection of those witnesses is our paramount concern. So we need to be sure that our witnesses are protected at all costs.
How many witnesses do you have?
At the moment, we have about 6, but as the case goes on, we'll see whether we need to bring more witnesses. When you look at the nature of the offenses that the defendants have been accused of, these people have been accused of belonging to a foreign terrorist organization. Let's protect our country. First of all, we need to be Nigerians before we talk about rights. So when people go about being accused of killing over 40 people that went worshipping, you cannot just allow them to roam the street. We need to protect our country. That is why we have said they shouldn't be granted bail, because we don't know the length that they may have access to. That's why we have just said no for now. Let them remain in our custody.
Welfare of the defendants is addressed by the Defense Counsel.
No. That's what I asked them. Are you maltreated? They said no. Oh, I'm so lovely about that.
The 5 defendants are standing trial over their alleged involvement in the June 5, 2022 attack at the St. Francis Xavier Catholic Church, Owo, Ondo State, which claimed 40 lives.
And to another top story this week, aggrieved indigenous contractors who allegedly executed projects for the federal government and their counterpart from the Federal Capital Territory have staged a protest in Abuja demanding the immediate payment for all completed projects since 2024. The federal contractors are threatening to occupy the streets and embassies in Abuja until their demands are met. Meanwhile, the Minister of Finance says the federal government has paid all outstanding debts for the year 2024.
These protesters occupy the entrance leading to the Federal Capital Territory Secretariat in Abuja. They are contractors who claim to have executed projects for the FCT administration but are yet to be paid. The messages displayed on their placard summarizes their frustration, just as the leader of the protesters states their demand.
We are using this medium to appeal to the minister to please, for the sake of God, make this payment. Because we've lost some of our members. Some of them have lost their properties due to this bank loan and interest. So we are appealing to him. This is going to 2 years now. So we are appealing to him to please pay this fund.
However, a swift reaction from the office of the FCT minister dismissed the claims. A statement by the senior special assistant to the Minister on Public Communication says the minister never awarded 5 billion naira contracts to local contractors. Apart from raising doubts, the statement also challenged the contractors to come with proof.
All we are saying.
At a separate event, members of the Indigenous Contractors Association of Nigeria gathered for a news conference to protest the non-payment of over 6 billion naira owed by the federal government for projects executed since 2024.
We are telling the government that they should do what they're supposed to do to make sure they clear our debts. How can we borrow money to pay tax, borrow money to execute a project of the federal government? Our lawmakers will come in various constituencies, in various senatorial districts to commission the project, and money is not paid for over a year now. That's why we are here.
Beyond this conference, the contractors are threatening to occupy embassies and government offices should the government fail to meet their obligations within the next 7 days.
If these demands are not yet addressed immediately, we will proceed with our peaceful protest in accordance with our earlier resolution. We will start by visiting most of the embassies, foreign embassies. We will come out with our families, our workers. We will not rest.
However, the Minister of Finance on Thursday responded to the allegations of federal government's indebtedness to indigenous contractors.
In the last quarter, we did pay two contractors over 2 trillion to settle outstanding capital budget obligations, and that was from last year. And so we, as a moment, have no pending obligations that are not being processed and financed.
Apart from authorizing ministries and parastatals to pay contractors who have finished their projects, the protesters want the government to back such authorization with cash so they can be paid.
For the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, on Wednesday commissioned a newly built multi-purpose auditorium at the Lagos State University Ekpe campus, donated by the Vice Chairman of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, Olatunji Bello. Governor Sanwo-Olu described the structure as a beacon of knowledge, creativity and intellectual engagement, and stands as a testament to vision, commitment and the enduring value of giving back to society. The Lagos State University Ekpe campus receives federal and state executives, including the Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, Minister of Education, among other dignitaries, who have all come for the inauguration of the Olatunji Bello Auditorium, donated by the Chief Executive Officer of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, Mr. Olatunji Bello. The structure provided for LASU students is part of the state government's plan to upgrade facilities at a state-owned tertiary institution, and the beneficiaries are grateful for the continued support given to LASU.
We thank you for this foresight, generosity, and dedication to uplifting education in Lagos State. You are leaving a wonderful legacy and indelible footprint in the sands of time.
The Vice-Chancellor of LASU, Professor Ibiyemi Olatunji Bello, who is also the wife of the donor, says the facility will ensure seamless academic learning for students.
For a campus housing the Faculty of Engineering, Faculty of Environmental Sciences, and School of Agriculture, the auditorium marks a significant milestone towards achieving Goal 3 of our administration. That is making infrastructural facilities available and accessible for seamless academic and administrative operations.
The idea of building something for LASU.
Mr. Olatunji Bello says the project was conceived in 2021 when he clocked 60 just to give back to society.
This is my humble way of supporting the argument that public purpose is served better by helping public universities fill the infrastructural gap. Certainly, the government cannot do it alone. Private individuals who really have the means should invest in public tertiary education to create more opportunities as prevalent in several developed countries. To the students soon to start benefiting from this auditorium, I sincerely hope that this auditorium will inspire you to double your zeal to excel in your academic pursuit.
The Minister of Education announces a 5 kVA mini power grid for LASU Ekpe campus to address electricity challenges.
LASU Ekpe campus will get a 5 megahertz mini grid as part of the federal government solarization project. That's already been approved. Third Fund would also be building an 11 megahertz mini grid for the main campus.
Governor Sanwo-Olu also applauds Mr. Olatunji Bello for his contribution to the education sector, which aligns with the state development agenda.
The management of LASU, over the last 4 years, we have raised this university to an enviable position and want to assure you that we'll give you everything it takes to ensure that it doesn't go down. Honorable Tunji Bello, thank you very, very much. We're indeed very grateful, and we're using this as a point of contact for others that will have land, we have space, we have what it takes to get much more donation, endowment. This university can take everything.
The newly built 500-seater edifice donated by Mr. Olatunji Bello will no doubt bridge infrastructural gap in LASU and inspire students to excel in their academic pursuit. And 14 children between the ages of 4 and 9 who are victims of child traffickers have been reunited with their families in Yola, the Adamawa state capital. Deputy Governor of the state, Professor Kalitapwa Farata, who officially handed over the children at a ceremony in Yola, said child trafficking is a monster that has been rearing its head in the state and must be stopped by all means.
In July 2025, intelligence reports emerged of a number of missing children in Yola and Mubi local government areas of Adamawa State. Following the efforts of the state government and security agencies, the children aged between 4 and 9 were all traced to a middle-aged woman, one Ngozi Abdul Wahab, who had trafficked them from Adamawa to Anambra State. This event, holding at the conference hall of the Deputy Governor's office in Yola, is for the official handover of the 14 rescued trafficked children to their parents.
Our citizens are our most cherished assets, and under no condition should anyone convert them into commodities of trade. For the past 2 months under the rescue regime, we have worked tirelessly with the security operatives from the point of report to investigation and evacuation of these children from their captors.
The Chief Medical Director, Specialist Hospital Yola, Dr. Dauda Wandiga, who took care of the children, described their condition upon return. Even as the commandant of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons in Adamawa State, Mr. Hassan Nabi, says the agency is working hard to stop the disturbing trend of child trafficking in Adamawa State.
They were looking sick, emotionally destabilized. Some had wounds on their legs. Almost all of them had tinea capitis, like fungal infection on their skin, their hair. They were looking malnourished. Some had abscesses on their legs, and so on and so forth. One of them who had pyomyositis of both thighs because he was constantly being beaten on that thigh.
Right now, I'm waiting for the handing over to the suspect to my office so that we prosecute her, because we have the mandate of prosecution and sensitization, and also we have the mandate of rehabilitation of the children that you see now.
One of the parents of the rescued children expresses gratitude to the state government.
We were struggling day and night, up and down. We first of all spotted the issue to the Nigerian police. Then along the line, you know the capability of the Nigerian police. They do their best in support of the state government, and then luckily, out of the about 30 children, the government have recovered 14 of them.
In a bid to empower the parents of the children, the State Deputy Governor, Professor Kaletapua Farauta, handed them assorted food items and 100,000 naira each. As they depart to their various destinations, the recurring advice to the parents is to keep closer watch on their wards.
And we end News Round with reports from UN-backed body responsible for monitoring food security, confirming famine in Gaza City and its surrounding areas for the first time. The IPC says more than 500,000 people in Gaza Strip are facing starvation, destitution and death. The organization adds that catastrophic conditions are projected to expand to Deir al-Balah and Khan Yunis by the end of September. However, Israel's foreign ministry has rejected the report, stating there's no famine in Gaza. UN Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, Tom Fletcher, describes the Gaza famine as the world's famine, following the report's classification of the situation as Phase 5, the highest on the food insecurity scale, with 500,000 people in Gaza at risk of starvation, destitution and death.
Not as words and numbers, but as names and lives. Be in no doubt that this is irrefutable testimony. It is a famine, the Gaza famine. It is a famine that we could have prevented if we had been allowed. Yet food stacks up at borders because of systematic obstruction by Israel. It is a famine within a few hundred meters of food in a fertile land. It is a famine that hits the most vulnerable first, each with a name, each with a story, that strips people of dignity before it strips them of life, that forces a parent to choose which child to feed, that forces people to risk their lives to seek food. It is a famine that we repeatedly warned of, but that the international media has not been allowed in to cover, to bear witness. It is a famine openly promoted by some Israeli leaders as a weapon of war. It is a famine on all of our watch. Everyone owns this. The Gaza famine is the world's famine. It is a famine that asks, but what did you do? A famine that will and must haunt us all. My ask, my plea, my demand to Prime Minister Netanyahu and anyone who can reach him: enough. Ceasefire. Open the crossings, north and south, all of them. Let us get food and other supplies in, unimpeded, and at the massive scale required. End the retribution. It is too late for far too many, but not for everyone in Gaza. Enough. For humanity's sake, let us in. I think it's important, and many of those that I've been in touch with in recent weeks inside Israel, including survivors of the October 7th massacre in Nir Oz, kibbutz, and elsewhere, they want this food to get in. And I think it's important to recognize that there is a growing constituency in Israel that shares our demand that we must get this food moving in, and we must avoid this starvation, that we must end this famine. I hope that their voices are heard. I would say to them, as I say to all of you, please read this report. Don't just listen to me. Read the report cover to cover. Read it again and be moved to action.
And those were the top stories for this week. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye for now.